He simply placed a bird's egg in his bedding, only to find the next day that the egg had grown to his size. What's even stranger is that when tears fell onto the bird egg, the tears were instantly absorbed by the egg. At first, the girl didn't notice anything amiss, but the next second, he faintly heard the sound of the eggshell cracking. Before he could react, a sharp claw suddenly shot out from the shell. Annie was scared out of her wits in that instant, thinking some terrifying monster had hatched. She scrambled into the wardrobe and dared not come out, but her curiosity got the better of her, peeking through the crack to peek outside. But the scene before her eyes stunned her instantly. She saw a strange bird suddenly break free from its shell. What was even more terrifying was that the strange bird had a pair of large, pitch-black eyes, just as Anne was frozen in terror. A sudden crash of breaking glass echoed from outside. It turned out the strange bird had broken the window and flown away. Dad, hearing the commotion, rushed in.
Mitä tapahtuu? Onks kunnossa?
Lintu tuli sisään.
He thought the strange bird had returned to nature, but when it came time to sleep that night, Anne discovered the strange bird had returned. This sight instantly terrified Anne, causing her to stumble backward. But as the strange bird drew nearer, she realized it seemed to harbor no ill intent. Seeing her arm cut by the glass, Annie seemed to understand the bird's meaning, so she curiously pulled the glass shard out for it. The strange bird's cry startled him, and he immediately covered his eyes. But then the strange bird covered its own eyes too. Only then, Annie finally understood that the strange bird had mistaken her for its owner. Seeing the strange bird's pitiful state, Annie decided to keep it as a pet. That very night, she gave it a warm bath. Little did she know that this very decision would bring utter disaster to the household, for this monstrous bird was no pet at all, but a great demon. That night, Annie lay in bed trying to sleep, when suddenly the neighbor's puppy's barking kept her awake. At that moment, the strange bird seemed to sense its owner's anger. Without a word, it quietly slipped over to the neighbor's house. Before long, the girl suddenly discovered in horror that the neighbor's puppy had died on her pillow. To prevent anyone from discovering this, the next morning, Anne hurriedly buried it in the yard. Little did she know, was witnessed by her younger brother, who disliked her, from the window. The brother then brought their father into the room to expose his sister for killing the neighbor's puppy. Terrified, Annie hid the strange bird under the bed. Then she clamped her hand tightly over its beak. Just then, Dad suddenly noticed some bloodstains on Anne's bed, realized the girl had grown into an adult. Dad could only awkwardly take his younger brother out of the room. When Annie returned home that day, her mother, who had been away on business, had bought her a pretty pink comb, which instantly infuriated her younger brother who hadn't received a gift. So he dug up the neighbor's dog right then and there, claiming his sister killed the neighbor's dog. But Mom and Dad didn't believe Annie could do such a thing. But the foul bird smell in Annie's room still alerted Mom to something being off. She intended to trace the source of the stench, but instead discovered her daughter's competition outfit was covered in holes. Realizing her daughter must have done this to avoid the competition, Mom had no choice but to pressure Annie, saying if she didn't perform well in the competition, she'd be locked in the dark room. After Mom left, Annie felt utterly wronged. She could only pour out her heartache to the strange bird, and that strange bird became her only emotional anchor. He even hoped the strange bird could help him compete in the race. Sure enough, as time passed, the strange bird gradually developed in an uncontrollable direction. Not only did it grow a full head of hair, but its behavior also became human-like. But Anne wasn't frightened by this. Instead, she treated the strange bird like family. That day, Mom brought Anne to dance class. When she saw a little girl performing beautifully, Mom actually said how wonderful it would be if she were her own daughter. This instantly sparked a wave of jealousy in her daughter. At that moment, the strange bird sensed Annie's anger. She immediately ran out of the house. Then, as the girl walked home from school, it quietly crept up behind her, intending to eliminate this nuisance for Annie. But just then, Annie's body suddenly began convulsing uncontrollably. Mom thought Annie might be under too much stress, and Anne hadn't told her mother about her classmate's murder, because that was something she wanted to do but dared not. After returning home, and discovered the strange bird had vanished. Only a fallen bird beak remained. At this moment, Annie still didn't know that the strange bird had already evolved into human form. The next day, Mom moved into a new home. Only then did Anne discover her mom and dad had quietly divorced long ago. The reason they hadn't told her was to protect her for the dance competition. Seeing her new father and a newborn baby made Annie feel terribly sad. He simply couldn't accept this sudden younger brother. He could only pour out all his pain to the strange bird. That day, as Jack passed by Annie's room and suddenly heard strange sounds coming from inside, he wanted to open the door to see what was happening, but Anne refused to let anyone enter. With no other choice, Jack decided to break down the door. The next second, he was stunned.